If you're new to zero waste, you probably think that it's hard and expensive and time consuming and you have to change your whole life. While a lot of people make it look that way, you don't actually have to do any of that. When I first started thinking about going zero waste, I thought I have to change my whole life. I have to give up my favorite foods. I have to change the way I dress and the way I eat and the way I cook. Do I have to stop working because I can't give up my car? I couldn't change my whole life overnight and no one can. So the good news is I'm not asking you to do any of that. And if there's any content creators out there who are, let me know about them because that is problematic. Hello everyone, it's Emma and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I talk about all sorts of things zero waste, focusing on free, easy, and fun ways to live low waste and practical ways to be an activist. And that's what brings me here today, is to show you that zero waste doesn't have to be expensive and hard and time consuming. It can be free, easy, and fun and accessible for everyone in one way or another. Zero waste is no linear process. There's no finish line. It's not a race to the end. You may stumble and you may make mistakes, but that's okay. We just simply have to keep going and trying our best. And the whole reason I started my platform was to prove that you don't have to change your whole life overnight. In fact, those are some of my oldest blog posts, which have since been deleted because I changed from Wix to Squarespace, but that's besides the point. I'm a strong believer that you can be zero waste on a budget. That you can be zero waste and be lazy, that you can be zero waste and it can be easy. And the fact that your life can look quite the same as it did before. So let's dive into my tips for how to not only go zero waste, but stay zero waste and prevent burnout and being discouraged. So if you're looking to go zero waste in 2023, this is the video for you. First things first, and this goes with any major life change, is to know your why. Why do you want to go zero waste? It could be something self-centered. It could be, I want to save money because all of these wasteful products that we consume waste a lot of money. It could be because you want a better future for yourself because you're seeing that the planet is dying. You might want a better home for your kids or just generations to come in general if you don't have children. You might want clean drinking water and clean air and a better home for all the animals that we share this planet with. These are just a few examples. You can use these if you want to. You can come up with your own why. You don't have to write it down or have an official why, but just have that idea in the back of your head to inspire you to keep going and not give up. Number two, and I cannot believe this is still a myth. It literally is a myth, and that is that zero waste literally doesn't exist. People talk about me, not about me, people talk to me all the time about how, why are you using the term zero waste if you still recycle? Why are you using the term zero waste if you still use a few items in plastic? And that's because zero waste in itself is a broad movement, and I personally just use it as a search term because no one out there is searching zero waste-ish or kind of zero waste or almost zero waste. You know, people are searching just zero waste, and I just use it as a search term. Not to mention, the actual definition of zero waste is just sending zero waste to the landfill. So things like recycling, composting, eco-bricking even, all of that counts as being zero waste. If that's not a good term for you, you can use terms like eco-living, eco-friendly living, low waste, sustainable living, low impact living. There's so many different words that you can fit, or you just don't label yourself at all. It's that simple too. But just don't get discouraged by the term zero waste because nobody can produce literally zero waste. Number three, and I think this goes with any big major life change, big goal, is to don't just do it cold turkey. One of the zero waste New Year's resolutions that I offered for 2023 was to make one sustainable swap or habit change per month, or if you want to go a little bit more extreme, make one per week. But I still don't even recommend making one change per day unless they're super small changes. Today I'm going to focus on reducing the amount of time that I spend brushing my teeth. Tomorrow, the amount of time I spend taking a shower. Small things like that. But don't try to learn composting today and learn how to sew tomorrow and learn how to install a bidet the next day. Those are very difficult things to learn how to use and do and get used to. So just make baby steps and don't just try to flip your whole life overnight because that will get overwhelming and frustrating. So just take it slow, implement the swaps, little by little, learn how to use them correctly, properly, take the time to get to know them, and just remember that zero waste isn't a race. There's no finish line or a winner. Next is to start with free swaps and easy swaps because again, people do think that zero waste is expensive and hard. It can be if you make it that way. If you do want to switch overnight using a bidet and composting and what else? Buying an EV, I don't know. I feel like that's very extreme, but I have a full playlist I will leave for you right here that has over 250 ways to live zero waste completely for free. 250 ways that you don't have to spend any money to live a less impactful life for the planet. So I think this is a great place to start because many of these too, you don't have to even change your life a whole lot, some of them at all. It's simple things like learning to turn off the light switch when you leave a room. I just think this makes making that transition to zero waste a lot less intimidating because if you tell someone, oh, you have to drop $5,000 right now to be zero waste, nobody's gonna do that. But if you tell people, hey, you can live zero waste for free starting right now, right here, I feel like people are a lot more likely to do that. So I encourage you to check out that playlist. And similar to that, number 5 is I don't recommend you buy a whole lot of swaps right away. You don't need zero waste swaps, period, to be zero waste, and you don't even need a lot of them. If you want a few, go for it. Obviously, there's some things you're gonna need, like a more eco-friendly shampoo and toothpaste as you run out. Don't Don't throw away your old products. That's super wasteful. But buying a whole bunch of swaps right away, like, oh, I need metal tiffins, I need a new water bottle, I need a new coffee cup, etc., etc. That's going to take quite the toll on your budget. It's going to be quite a toll mentally. And it's just going to play into that stereotype that zero waste is expensive, but it doesn't have to be. Turns out you also don't need any of these swaps. You can probably just use what you already have. If you do need a reusable water bottle because you want to quit using plastic, just reuse a glass jar. It works perfectly fine. It might not keep as well as insulated as like a double-walled stainless steel water bottle, but it'll do the job for now until you want to buy one. And same for utensils. You don't have to buy a fancy set of bamboo utensils. You can just grab an extra spoon and a fork from your utensil drawer or go thrift some for cheap and then just keep those in your car or your purse. And those are just a few examples. Number 6, I probably should have put this at number 1. This is probably my biggest piece of advice, and that is to not give up everything you love. I see it all too often on some zero waste Facebook groups I'm a part of, is people being like, my kid loves Capri Suns, what's an eco-friendly alternative? I'm like, don't take away your kid's favorite juice. And the same goes for us as adults, or even you as a teen if you're making your own choices as a teen. Don't give up your favorite hobby because it involves plastic. Don't give up your favorite food because it comes wrapped in plastic. Don't give up your one chance to travel throughout the year because it requires a plane. Nobody is perfect. I don't think that me choosing a pint of ice cream versus, I don't know, some chocolate chips from the bulk bin because it's plastic free, but ice cream is more delicious, that's not gonna make or break anything. It all comes down to being a conscious and smart consumer and overconsumption. There's a line. Like people who are shopaholics and that's their favorite hobby, and over-consuming stuff from fast fashion like Shein and Zara, etc. That's way different than you going to the mall and picking out one thing that you really love. Like there is a difference, and the same goes for treating yourself to a coffee or a candy bar, whatever it may be. But the thing is that if it's not sustainable for you, you're not gonna keep it up. So it's not only needs to be sustainable for the planet, but for you as well. And giving up everything you love would not make it sustainable for you. It would be so hard mentally, and it just gives everybody a bad taste for zero waste if you give up everything you love in the name of reducing your plastic. Number 7, I think a lot of people struggle with this, especially people who are new to zero waste, and that is to not get discouraged when you make mistakes. And I put them in air quotes because there's really no mistakes. Especially if you have to buy something in plastic, that's not a mistake if you need that thing. And as I already talked about, buying that one thing you need in plastic is not gonna make or break anything. Forgetting your reusable water bottle, or for me, I forget my reusable containers to get leftovers at restaurants all the time. That's not gonna make or break anything. The important thing is that we keep trying and not get discouraged when we do make these mistakes. Number 8, I encourage you to find a community, whether that be something like a zero waste Facebook group for your city. You can join my zero waste Facebook group. I would love to get this revamped and be able to make it like a little discussion board thing. Right now I just kind of share my content to it, so I'd love to have you over there so we can actually have conversation. But it could also just be something as simple as leaving a comment down below and interacting with each other in the comments of my videos or my other posts on social media. You could also start or join a zero waste club at your school. There are so many ways to find communities. I think it's super easy to find an online community. Another Facebook group I love is Zero Waste, Zero Judgment. This is just a great place to encourage one another, educate one another, and inspire one another. Number 9 is to learn about eco-anxiety and how to cope with it. It's going to hit everyone at one point or another. Last year when I first moved here and started it's 2023. When I moved here 2 years ago, oh my gosh, and I started first learning about Lake Mead, I was super eco-anxious, but I've learned how to cope with it. I've learned not to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders alone, and I have a full video on how to cope with eco-anxiety. You can check it out up here. And we're already talking about a lot of the things that do help with coping with eco-anxiety, is to remember that climate change is not your fault and to find a community. Those are some of the biggest ways you can. And learning how to cope with eco-anxiety really helps with burnout and helps keep us going in regards to trying to make more eco changes. Number 10, know what influencers post online are just highlight reels. I try my best to post the realness of my life. I started a little mini series on TikTok called Wasteful Things I Did This Month, where I show the plastic I bought, how much I drove, because I drive a lot, and just kind of, I guess, exposing myself in that nobody's perfect. Even the most perfect looking people online still use plastic in some way or another. They use electricity on their smartphones to make their content. They have fruit stickers, even if they buy them package free. And I really wish that more content creators did post that realness, and I think it's becoming more prevalent now, as opposed to when the zero waste movement first started kicking off 5 to 7 years ago. But just know that all these zero wasters who are driving their EVs and shopping at bulk bins and installing solar panels, they're only posting the highlight reels. They still do wasteful things, whether you believe it or not. Everyone needs some sort of waste, whether that be for medical care or food. Using electricity is invisible waste, so just know that nobody's perfect, even if that's all they're showing online. Number 11 is to find swaps and habit changes that you truly love. For example, when I first started going zero waste, I went all out. I was like, I want to make my own clothes, I want to make my own butter. What else did I do? I did some like very crazy things because I'm like, I want to literally make as little waste as possible, but I didn't like many of those things. I've still stuck with a lot of them to this day. Like I make my own peanut butter and my own homemade cleaners and stuff. I love composting. I love making recipes out of food waste. So find the things that you love to do and implement that into your life. I talk about this all the freaking time. But one thing I love to do is I love to crochet. And I was like, how can I get rid of all of my old high school t-shirts in a sustainable way? I crocheted them into a rug. 4 rugs, in fact. I've made so many rugs from old t-shirts. So that's how I combined my love for the environment and my passion for crocheting. And that's just one example. But what I mean is, if you don't like composting, find someone else who can do it for you, like a composting service. If you don't like making your own food from scratch, try buying it with less packaging instead at the store. There's a swap and a habit change for everyone. No zero waste swap is a one size fits all. Not everyone's gonna love every swap. So take the swaps you love and leave the swaps that you don't love. And you might have to produce a little bit of waste because you can't implement every single zero waste swap, and that's okay. Number 12 is to document the process. This doesn't mean you need to start a YouTube channel or an Instagram account or whatever. If you want to, go for it. But this could look like just journaling every month, talking about in your journal like what zero waste swaps you implemented. And then over the years, you can look back and be like, oh wow, I used to make so much waste. I had no idea what this swap was before. Look how far I've come. You could also just take pictures of all your new zero waste swaps, save them in an album on your phone or your computer. There are several ways to do this without having to like start a vlog channel or something. Number 13 is to keep learning. Nobody knows everything. I'm still continually learning about random things I think about, like when are our landfills gonna fill up and what is natural gas? As I've already said before, zero waste is not linear. There's no finish line. It's a constant circle of learning and growing. So keep reading books, keep watching documentaries and podcasts and watching other content creators. And I have a full list of resources for all those things on my website that I will leave linked down below for a good place for you to start. Number 14, we kind of already talked about it, and that is that not every zero waste swap is going to work for every person, and not everyone can make every change. I think something a lot of people don't consider in the zero waste movement, it is a very ableist part of the internet, and that is not everyone has the mental capacity to make these changes. People have mental illness, people are disabled, people don't have the money, people don't have the time, people have children, people have medical issues. There are literally so many reasons why someone might not be able to make the change that you love to implement, and vice versa. You might love doing something and I might hate doing something. Sometimes I love making my own homemade peanut butter, but sometimes I don't have the energy, and I also have chronic migraines and I don't have, I guess that comes down to energy and just mental capacity to make my own peanut butter, so I buy it in packaging. And that comes down to that zero waste isn't linear. Some days I make my own peanut butter and it's going great and I'm really reducing my packaging, and then I don't feel well, so I have to go buy a jar of peanut butter or a pack of tortillas or something else that I normally make homemade. But then the next week I might feel better and I might make my own peanut butter again. So just because one week you don't have the time, the energy, the capacity to make a zero waste swap doesn't mean that you can't re-implement it later in your life. And number 15, the most important part is to just be a conscious consumer. Again, so many people who have disabilities, mental illness, or XYZ reason, you can't implement it all, and that's okay. Sometimes you can't even do anything. I still think that's a little bit of a myth. Again, check out my full series on zero waste living on a budget, because I think you could find at least one thing in there that you can implement. But the point of this tip is to just be aware. Make the most environmentally conscious decision that you can, and if anything, write to wasteful companies, write to your governments, and demand change from them, because at the end of the day, we can only choose what we have access to. If we don't live in an area that has a bulk store, we have to buy stuff in packaging. What this comes down to is that not everybody is on the same playing field, so do what you can with the hand that you're dealt. I hope that this video was encouraging and helpful, and that it helps you to live a more zero waste life in 2023 and in years to come. Let's all make 2023 our least wasteful year yet. And thank you for being part of this community that I've built. You can go join the Facebook group, or we can just have a conversation in the comments and build our community here on YouTube as well. So thank you for being along on my personal journey throughout the years, because not only did I create this platform to educate and inspire others, but I did create it to have my own journey documented, because I think that is a big part of remaining zero waste, is seeing how far you've come. And thank you to everybody, especially those of you who have been here since the beginning. If you've been here since, like, when did I start? 2020? Let me know. And thank you for being here, whether you subscribed yesterday or 3 years ago. I appreciate your time and your support over the years. If I missed any ways that you live zero waste and you think others should know about, especially tips on how to stay zero waste for life, is that a little cheesy? I don't know. But let us know down below. Again, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, remember that your small actions have a big impact in the long run. Bye, guys. So if you're looking to go nope, we'll leave it at that. Even if I buy them past